We've got breaking news coming in from Ladd-Peebles Stadium tonight. Multiple people have been shot during a high school football game. Our Tyler Finger just getting to the scene. Tyler, what can you tell us at this time?
Yeah, Lanice just got here just a couple of minutes ago, but Public Safety Director for Mobile, James Barber, confirming to me just moments ago that at least 6 people were shot here during a football game here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. There are police all around and multiple ambulances I have seen so far. A fourth one, I think now just about to pass us here. But again, at least 6 people shot. This happening during a football game. I'm going to step out of the way. You'll see the stadium lights still on here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium, but the game is over. As we were arriving on scene, we saw police officers escorting at least 2 team buses away from the stadium. It's unclear exactly what sparked this, but there have been multiple ambulances here, and at least 6 people were shot here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. Inside the stadium, inside one of the concourses, and out in the parking lot is what we're hearing at this point. A very active and fluid situation unfolding right now here. Again, this was a high school football game here on a Friday night. People out here cheering on their teams when unfortunately somebody opening fire, at least one person opening fire. I asked Director Barber if there is any suspects in custody. He was not able to confirm that to me at this point, or if there were multiple shooters. We are still waiting for that information at this point, but rest assured we'll continue to keep you up to date. But just to recap, that we have at least 6 people shot at a high school football game here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. Lots of questions tonight. We have reached out to both Mobile Fire and Mobile Police for some more information. All we've been able to confirm, though, is that 6 people have been shot. Lanice, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Tyler, while we have you there on the scene, go back to what you saw when you pulled up there. I just saw some people walking behind you. Is it still pretty crowded right now, even though the game is over, you say?
Over the last about 5 minutes or so, a lot of people who have been gathering here have been walking around, leaving the area. People were still in the parking lot driving away, so it's not as crowded as it was, or as what it probably was during the height of this football game when they were out on the field. But right now, it is starting to quiet down. I have not heard any police sirens since since I started our live shot just a couple of minutes ago. But just off to my right over here, you will see there are police officers directing traffic. But at this point, though, they are trying to still get a handle on this situation. And unfortunately, right now, and I did forget to mention, we are unclear. As I did say, 6 people were shot. We're still waiting to find out the exact extent of those injuries. I do hear a siren going on right now. Unclear if that's another ambulance possibly heading here to the scene. Lanice.
Yeah, Tyler, can you give us an idea or give us more of a view of what you are seeing with the camera there?
Yeah, let me just step around. I mean, you'll see if just off to we're moving the camera here to give you a better look. The parking lot, for most of the part, clear. I mean, from where I'm standing right now, I only see about 20, 30 people standing around in this area. But there are some people across the street, lots of cars driving around. Police don't seem to have any hurry in where they are going, but they are going about. They do have a traffic situation blocked, and you'll see that another ambulance coming towards the scene here. They driving through. Unclear if that has a person in it. That's again just arriving. So they have called multiple ambulances here because of this shooting. More than 6 people, at least 6 people shot. That's considered a mass shooting here at a football game here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. And we're still waiting for some more information from, let me see if I did get an update from police on what exactly is
Tyler,
unfolding here. But again, from what we are seeing here, not a lot in terms of police are out here, but they are not in any urgency, possibly looking for a suspect or anything from when we first got here. Pretty much they're still standing around here.
All right, Tyler, I understand that much of what happened there was inside the stadium. Where are you in relation to the stadium? Are you on the east or the west side?
We are on the northern side, if I have my directions correct. There are actually 2 ambulances have just left the scene with a police escort as well. So those were the ambulances we saw when we initially arrived on scene. So those will most likely have at least 2 victims inside being taken to a local hospital. But in terms of where I'm on the north side of the stadium on I believe the north end zone. And when we were trying to ask some witnesses who were around here, asking if they heard anything, some of them said they didn't hear anything at all, and they didn't really want to talk with us. So it's unclear when exactly the shooting happened. But obviously, if you're inside a football game, you have the speakers, you have the cheering, you have the bands. It may be hard to hear what exactly is going on, and that we did get that sense from those people who were inside the stadium that maybe they didn't hear it because it just simply was so loud. But we again are still Morella Porter is out here with me. She's asking some witnesses as well to see what they heard, because we want to obviously pass that along to you, because a very serious situation unfolding here, a shooting at the football game, and now police are having to deal with searching for a shooter or shooters. We're still waiting for that information at this point, Lenise. All
right, Tyler, and this is an ongoing situation, so we're going to stay with you on this shot. The football game that was going on was between Williamson and LeFlore, I believe. We're hearing that at least one person possibly taken into custody.
At this point, I have not been able to get that information from Mobile Police. Director James Barber, Mobile Public Safety Director James Barber, was only able to confirm to me the number of victims who have been shot here. He is still trying to gather that information about whether a suspect is in custody. But with you saying that you're hearing that a suspect is in custody, that may make sense, considering there are police officers here just directing traffic and not actively out searching for somebody. It does seem like this situation has calmed down, which would indicate that somebody at this point may possibly be in custody, which would put this situation to a close, as first responders do attempt to take these at least six victims to the hospital to get treated for their injuries after being shot. And you mentioned a couple of minutes ago that it may have been the shooting initially starting possibly inside the stadium. We are hearing that it did start, that there was shots fired inside one of the concourses, and then also maybe another possible shooting outside. The number of victims unclear where they all were, but again, they were telling us that at least 6 people shot, and that obviously that number could grow at this point. It still is a very early number. As we were driving here, when I was talking to Mobile Public Safety Director James Barber, he was telling me that initially it was at least 3 people shot, and by the time we were pulling up on scene, as I was waiting, as you were tossing to me, he updated me and said now it's at least 6. So this is a very fluid situation unfolding out here in Mobile at Ladd-Peebles Stadium tonight, as police now their hands full with not only at least 6 victims, but also that suspected shooter, who at this point we're hearing may possibly be in custody. And as soon as I'm able to, I'll reach out to the public safety director again to see if he can give me an update on that shooter, to see if we're able to get that fully confirmed tonight, Lenise.
Going back to the victims, Tyler, we were receiving reports that one of the victims showed up at Mobile Infirmary. I don't know if you guys are kind of anchored to your location right now, or if you have the ability to give us more of a view of what you're still seeing. It seems to have quieted down. Ambulance no longer on the scene?
Yeah, from where we are standing, it is very hard to get a sense of where the ambulances are, but I'm going to step out of the way. We'll push, so you'll see a semi-truck off to your left. Where that car just turned and is now going down that road on the other side of the stadium, that's where all the ambulances were going. So it's unclear exactly. That's clearly where most of the victims were being found and being taken out of this stadium after being shot. That is so probably on the other side of where we were parked and where we ended up being stationed, just from the standpoint of we pulled up on scene, not sure exactly where everything was unfolding. We parked in the first spot after talking to police where we would be in a safe location to be able to bring this news to you, that at least 6 people were shot. shot. So from the standpoint from when we first started talking to you about 10 minutes ago, it really has quieted down. I'm not seeing nearly as many students out here or people out here, kids or teens, and the number of cars driving here around this area has quieted down as well. Police are still on scene. I can still see 2 cars, or actually one of the squad cars now leaving here, but in a situation like this, I know we've done stories in the past. During a high school football game, there is going to be a lot of police officers on scene. Mobile County Public Schools is required to have a certain amount of security in situations like this. So if there was since there was a shooting here, those Mobile police officers were quickly able to either go catch that person who was responsible for the shooting or tend to the victims, because those officers are on scene here providing security anyway. So they were here, and hearing that initial reports of shots fired, they immediately probably jumped into action to be able to take care of this situation. Again, 6 people shot here during that game from Williamson High School and versus LeFlore. In a situation like this is anything over 4 or anything over 4 people shot, we would classify as a mass shooting. So 6 people here, and I do see another police unit arriving on scene, one of the normally the undercover detective units probably out here beginning their investigation. And I do see another ambulance, looks like it's getting ready to pull around as well. That detective unit or crime scene unit pulling into that scene.
I see there are people there. Are those mostly students, to your knowledge, that were at the game?
They do appear to be students, or at least young kids who were either here or just came over after seeing what was going on with all the police officers that were here. I tried to talk to a couple of them before we went on TV. None of them really wanted to talk with us to actually see if they heard anything. Some other students who were at the game, who I know were at the game, said that they didn't hear anything but didn't want to talk to us either. But they know there is no real sense of urgency for the kids who are still here. There was that group that I see passing off to my right over here. There's about 5 or 6 of them, and then there's a couple more, maybe another 5 or 6 off over here. When we first went live with you just about 10 or 15 minutes ago, there were probably about 100 or so people that I would say were in this this area where we are standing. That number really has gone down, so people are going home, and I do see an ambulance leaving without its lights on, so they did call a lot of extra ambulances here to assist, because this was a chaotic situation with reports of multiple people shot, police calling all available units out here to be able to get the help they need, hearing that in this case 6 people were shot. Lenise.
All right, and if you are just joining us here for Fox 10 News, want to get you quickly recapped. As you can see, our Tyler Fingard is on the scene. We are working a shooting here, multiple injuries, ambulance on the scene, reports of at least 6 a shooting there. We have a Morella Porter also on the way to the scene. This all happening during a football game between Williamson and LeFlore. And as I mentioned, we've got 2 crews on the scene. Want to take you to another vantage point now with Fox News reporter Morella, or with our Fox News reporter Morella Porter. Morella, I can see that you've got a lot of ambulance behind you as well. What have you been able to find out so far?
Right, Lydia. Well, according to the reports that we're hearing, it looks like someone might have been shot in the east concourse of the stadium. Now, that's where we're at now, and it looks like there are a bunch of ambulance, firefighters, police. I've seen some police walking around, maybe looking for evidence. As Tyler was telling you, you know, there are reports that up to maybe 6 people could have been shot here, both inside and outside of the stadium. Now, we were inside of the stadium, and it looks like everything has cleared out. The only people that we were really seeing were people cleaning up the stadium, and arriving here, there were still a lot of teenagers kind of lingering around, and still ambulances driving by. Of course, when they would drive by, they would turn off the sirens, but back here, it's still very active. As you can see, officials still walking around. Tried to talk to some of the police on scene, but of course very busy, unable to really confirm anything that we already don't know, which is that confirmed by a Mobile police official that at least 3 people were shot, with up to 6 according to reports that also could have been shot. with one person being sent to the hospital. Still very active here, as you can see. Still working the scene. And like I said, again, we were inside of that stadium. We were able to get access into there, knowing that we were going in there. So I'm not sure how secure they have it right now, but it looks like it's pretty empty at this point. Unsure when the game ended, but no signs of any game goers, football goers right now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, Morella. You mentioned that the stadium was clearing as you got there. Wondered if you happened to see or hear anyone just as they were leaving talking about what happened.
Right. I saw people kind of lingering around the gate outside of the stadium. I tried to ask them, were you here when the shots were fired? I don't believe that they were here. They didn't give me much of a response, but honestly, not many people are around the stadium anymore besides the group of teenagers that we saw when we were arriving. At this point, I'm not over there anymore, obviously, but I think that most of those kids were starting to leave. But other than the police presence, the firefighters, the ambulance, not really anybody who maybe would have been going to the game is still here, at least from what I've seen, and the people who I've tried to talk to, not very responsive. So I'm not sure if they were here when it happened or what. So I'm still very active, though, as you can see right here.
Yeah, going back to the emergency vehicle still on the scene there, did you happen to see anyone being put inside?
No, I have not seen anyone put inside. I have seen some ambulances coming and going, but I have not seen them putting anybody on stretchers or anything like that. Really, I haven't seen many people walking around besides the few police and everything.
All right, and in terms of traffic, when you guys were pulling up to the scene, was the area blocked off? What are police telling people to do right now?
The area, there were police kind of guarding the front part of the stadium, but we were not told that we could not go through the gates. I'm not sure what they're telling anybody driving by, but it doesn't seem like anybody who is driving by is trying to get into the stadium or into the parking lot. Really, it was just the news crews getting in.
All right, is there anyone around you there?
And as you can see behind...
Go ahead.
Well, behind me, there are more crews arriving. So, but what was your question, Lenice?
I was going to see if there was anyone there that you could check in with, maybe walk up to and get a better idea of what the situation is right now. We first started reporting this story, about 15 minutes ago, that shots were fired there, at least 6 people hurt. One we know was possibly taken to Mobile Infirmary.
Right, Lenice. I'm seeing right here to my right, it looks like there are a bunch of police officers walking up these stairs. Not sure where that is headed, but it looks like some people might be following them up those stairs. It looks like maybe they're going back into the stadium. But other than that, really, I have not seen anybody where I am standing right now that I would probably be able to talk to at this very moment. And like I said, I did try to talk to those people who were kind of lingering by the gates, but they weren't very responsive when I asked them kind of what was happening. If we pan back over here, you can see this group of people walking down from the stairs over here, and it looks like they might be carrying somebody out of the stadium. Yep, they're carrying someone. So still recovering people who might have possibly been shot here tonight.
Yeah, Morella,
with more crews arriving to my left over here. Yeah, Lenice.
Going to say, getting some more information here in terms of the number of shots that we heard fire, multiple shots, some say between 25 and 30 shots. And as you just reported there, it looks like they're still attending to people who may have been injured.
Right, yes. I just saw them carrying some, like I said, I saw that big group of police officers with maybe 1 or 2 people following behind them. And as they were coming down, it looks like there might be a lot of officers because there was a big group coming up and immediately after a big group came down carrying somebody in what looked like an orange t-shirt. So I'm assuming that that is probably somebody who was hurt, shot.
All right, Morella, I'm going to interrupt
tonight,
you quickly.
when that
Pardon the
shooting
interruption.
happened.
I want to go back to our Tyler Finger to understand he has the Chief of Police, Lawrence Batiste. Tyler, want to bring you in now into the conversation. I understand you've got Chief Batiste with you now.
Well, he's approaching us. He's just actually standing just behind me, but this is the command center where we are. We are staying back a distance because of where we are. If you can actually see, they're actually wheeling somebody out on a stretcher right now. More ambulances have been arriving on scene. I count at least 5 or 6 still here, and I've already seen at least 3 leave. The Chief of Police, Lawrence Batiste, is here. He is standing off probably about 100 yards from where we are standing. He was on his way over to us, and he took a phone call, so we do hope to hear from him in just a couple of moments. But again, this is still an active situation that they are still trying to take people out of this scene after a mass shooting here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. We are still awaiting a lot of information about what exactly unfolded here, but especially hoping to learn that in just a couple of minutes from Mobile Police Chief Lawrence Batiste, who is here. But as you saw, as we came back to me, there is still people being taken out of the stadium who have been, and there's another person being taken out on a stretcher as well, also possibly shot or injured in some other fashion here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. This game between Williamson High School and LeFlore ending in gunfire here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium following multiple shots were fired. What we've been able to confirm at this point is at least 6 people shot. I see at least 2 already being taken to an awaiting ambulance, and I've seen at least 3 ambulances already leave. So that would indicate at least 5 people. Unclear if other people were hurt in possibly a stampede type of situation. And Lanice, when we moved over to where we're standing right now, this is the southwestern portion of, or southeastern portion of this stadium. This is where all of the activity is unfolding right now. There are ambulances, there are dozens of police officers out here conducting their investigation. And again, we are still waiting Mobile Police Chief Lawrence Batiste for some more information. He is standing here, he is on scene. I do see him. We are just waiting for him to come over to us to be able to provide us some information. And we are expecting that in just a couple of minutes, and we will of course bring that to you live. But a very active situation unfolding here. I have also reached out to Mobile Public Safety Director James Barber to see if he is able to provide any information as to a suspect. We are hearing someone is possibly in custody. That has not been confirmed by police at this point. We are awaiting that confirmation, but still a very active situation unfolding here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium here in Mobile. This whole entire situation starting just about, we got the initial report, initial shots fired call went out just about 9:25 or so, around 9:30. So we are approaching 45 minutes later, and still a very active situation unfolding here. Victims being taken out of the stadium still at this point, nearly 45 minutes later. So this is a lot of moving parts here. A very active investigation, and now they are still trying to handle the victims, either the shooting victims or people who were injured in another fashion here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. Lanice.
Tyler, how long ago did the chief arrive, and you know, when do you expect him to be able to break away for a moment to give an update on what happened and what they want people in that area to do?
He's slowly moving over towards us. We're hoping to be able to, we're going to move the camera if it is live right now, hoping he's able to provide information real quick. We're just moving over to his location. Chief, are you able to provide we're live on TV, right? Can you tell us anything about what?
Yeah, but I'm going to do it one time so y'all get your colleague. I'm not going to do 3 different.
So
All right,
we're going to hear
is on
from
the
Mobile
scene
Police
there.
Chief Lawrence Batiste in
While
just
the
a couple of
chief gets
minutes.
ready, we're going to just quickly give you a recap as we wait for the chief to get set up there. We understand this all happened during a football game between Williamson and LeFlore at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. Multiple people shot. Our reporters on the scene showing you live video right now of people still being taken away from their injuries. The chief is approaching us now. Question is, has there been an arrest? And what led to this shooting? We heard some 25 to 30 shots fired. As soon as we can get that information from the chief, we definitely want to bring it to you. So this is breaking news, and we're going to stay on it. Let's listen.
Yeah, we're going to get the update in just a couple of moments. We're still waiting for to get set up here to be able to bring this information to you. Again, what we were able to learn, Lenise, while we are waiting to find out how many shots were fired, how many people were hurt, but we have the only number we know for sure at this point is at least 6 people shot. That is what Mobile Public Safety Director James Barber is telling Fox 10 News tonight, that at least 6 people were shot. We've seen at least 2 victims being taken out on stretchers. I've seen at least 3 ambulances also leave with their lights and sirens going to be able to take these victims to the hospital. Multiple shots fired, a very active situation here, and lots of lights still here. Since I've been here in Mobile, I've never seen this response besides actually, I don't think I've ever seen this amount of ambulances and this amount of police here on scene. Again, the police chief is standing here. He is on the phone, and hopefully in just a couple of moments we'll be able to bring that to you, the latest information from Mobile Police about the number of people injured and the chief is here. And Chief Batiste, what are you able to tell us about what unfolded out here just about 45 minutes ago?
So what I can tell you at this moment is right now, it's come to our attention that we have at least 10 gunshot wound victims that have been taken to various hospitals here in the city as a result of an incident that occurred here at Ladd Stadium, a shooting. We've had one individual, because of the shooting, had a seizure, and another one injured his hand trying to get out of the way of what was going on. Currently, we have 2 individuals in custody or detained. Now, we don't know if they're the shooters in this particular situation, so we're questioning them right now. We're questioning witnesses here on the scene. We're processing the scene so that we can try to get a better idea of what actually transpired and unfolded here. We'll be here for quite some time. You guys know that whenever we work on a crime scene, we spend a little time making sure we gather all evidence. We're looking at all surveillance video that may be available to us to help us identify individuals that may be responsible for this particular incident. It is my belief that based off the surveillance system that's here and the cooperation that we'll get from the people here on site and people that attended the ball game, that we will make an arrest in this case and we'll be able to hold somebody accountable for this action. But again, it goes back to the idea that why are young people bringing this type of violence to public events? They're bringing their beefs that they have with each other in neighborhoods, and they're putting other people in harm's way. And we're going to have to be more aggressive on our end as a city as how we hold these individuals accountable when they go before the courts. We have got to make sure they understand that we will not tolerate juvenile violence in our community. It's not acceptable. Our community will not tolerate it. We will do the things that we need to do to hold them accountable. And so we are working on different things that we can do to get those that have aged out of the juvenile justice system, that are adults, into the federal system. And we want to make sure that they're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This is unacceptable for people not to be able to come out and enjoy an event, watching their children play a football game and watching their children perform in the band. 10 individuals injured from the age of 15, ranging from age 15 to 18. It's not acceptable in our community. We won't tolerate it. We'll be more aggressive in what we do as a law enforcement community to hold those individuals accountable. We're going to ask that the community help us by identifying those individuals that they know that bring this type of foolishness out to these type of events. As we get more information and we can update you on the status of some of our victims, we will. I would encourage the parents that if their children are not at home, call some of our local hospitals to see if their children may be there, or try to reach out to them on cell phones to make sure they're okay. There are some that are still here providing witness statements to our investigators, and so reach out to us if they have not made it home as of yet, if they were here at Ladd Stadium, and we'll do what we can to try to let you know if there's somebody that we're still talking to on the scene. But we'll be out here for a little while trying to process this scene and make sense of it.
Were the shots fired during the game or after the game?
Again, I think it's at the very end of the ball game. I don't know the exact details. I got on scene, started getting information about what took place, and really just trying to identify who our victims were and who our suspects. I really can't tell you at what point of the ball game these shots were actually fired.
Can you confirm, was there a fight prior to the game ending?
I don't know the answer to that. Actually, I was not on scene, so I can't answer that. So.
Do you believe that there is more than one shooter, or do you think it's just one shooter at this point?
Again, we got to ask questions. What we think right now and what we know are two different things. And so before I start talking about what we think, I'd like to try to make a better determination of what we can actually tell you and it be factual and correct. So.
Chief, really quick, what are the security measures as to going into the ball games here?
Well, as is in most ballparks, they have to have a clear bag. They shouldn't be able to bring a bag into the ball game. There is not. There is a warn where they would warn individuals as they would come in to make sure they didn't have a weapon or something on them. But those are the basic security measures for high school ball games. And some of our college ball games, it's a little bit more strict going into some of the college ball games. So one of the things that we'll be doing as we move away from this evening is sitting down at the table, trying to make a better determination of what do we need to do to deal with security measures at ball games. And we have to keep in mind that Ladd Stadium is just one venue in the city of Mobile where football games occur on Friday night. BC Rain, Ladd Stadium, the Lip, Baker High School, Blunt High School. There are multiple locations where high school games are going on at this time of day, and so it is an enormous drain on police resources, not just for the city of Mobile, but for Mobile County, for the other municipalities around us, because you have to provide security personnel for those venues, and so and when you have hundreds and hundreds of people attending events, you really want to make sure that you do everything you can to at least have some type of security plan in place.
Were the injured in the bleachers or in the breezeway?
Again, those are details that I don't have before me at this point in time, and it appears that they were all over the stadium, at least on the LeFlore side of the stadium, is where most of the injuries occurred. So I do know that much. That's on the LeFlore side of the field.
Chief Batiste, it is, we hear about mass shootings all the time. This is a mass shooting here, 10 plus in our community, shot here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium during a football game. Are you mad hearing this? It has now come to Mobile, Alabama.
Mad is, I guess, is an understatement. I think my emotion shows that I'm disappointed more than mad. I mean, because again, this is juvenile violence taken to a public venue for the purpose of harming somebody in a public setting. And again, if you have a beef with somebody, find other ways to deal with the conflict rather than make other people victims of your emotion, because that's all this was really all about, is someone taking out their frustration on somebody else and some innocent bystanders being brought into the fray of what took place. I'm frustrated by the fact that we probably have some parents that may have known what was going to occur this evening, some adults that would have known what was going to occur or possibly occur this evening, and did not reach out to us to give us a heads up to make sure that this type of thing could be prevented. People have got to do their part. Everybody has a role in our community to do something to prevent violence, and when they fail to do that, everybody in the community suffers from it. So.
Hearing with you guys are on scene here to provide security in different aspects during a situation or during a football game like this. Did any of your officers confront that suspect who possibly opened fire here, or was there any confrontation with Mobile police to be able to get this person who was opening fire to surrender?
As I shared with you before, we have two individuals in custody, so we came in contact with somebody. I can't tell you whether or not there was I can tell you that there was not a armed confrontation between my officers and the people that they took into custody. But again, we treated this like an active shooter scenario. Our guys, when they heard shots ring out, they moved to the area and they tried to secure as best they can in an open venue like we were dealing with, and make sure that we prevented loss of life and that we were able to at least push who we may have thought was a perpetrator into an area where we could secure that individual without causing further harm. And so there's no perfect way to do things like this here and deal with these type of situations, but I believe that our officers acted promptly, and I think that because they acted promptly, that they reduced the number of other people that could have potentially been injured as a result of this.
Those injured, do you have any idea where they were injured, where they were shot?
I don't have any of that at this time. So.
Also, with so many people here, you said that the person who was arrested, or the two people in custody, whether are they juveniles?
As I told you, our victims range in age from 15 to 18. Those individuals that are being questioned at this time, I can't give you their age. Again, as we continue to investigate, I'll be able to let you guys know a little bit more. But right now, I can't tell you any more than what I've already told you. And I need to get back over there to kind of figure out where we're going and moving forward.
Before you leave, yes. People in this area, should they be worried at any? Are you guys still looking for somebody? Should they be worried for people in this area?
I would tell people to be cautious. I don't think that I don't think we're worried about anybody running the streets, but I would always caution people to be cautious and alert in their neighborhoods, and particularly the immediate neighborhood, because if the individual that perpetrated this particular incident is walking the neighborhood, he or she may still be armed, and so. But again, this may have been a directed threat at one or two individuals, and other people just happen to fall prey to their carelessness. And so I would just caution people to be be on alert this evening. Yes.
Chief, thank you. We just heard from Mobile Police Chief Lawrence Batiste, who told us at least 10 people were shot here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium following, or either at the very end or after the game had already ended out here at about 9:30 or so. At least 10 people shot. A couple other people either had other medical emergencies. Someone had a seizure. Right now, 2 people are in custody. Mobile Police is now beginning this investigation into this shooting. As I said, 2 people are in custody. Their exact role in this shooting unclear at this point, and the chief would not tell me whether or not that the suspect is a juvenile. But again, a very active situation. And while we were talking to the chief, most of the ambulances left the scene. Now it's just police here to begin their investigation. He said there are cameras here, so they are hoping to be able to learn a lot more, being able to use some surveillance video to be able to shed some light on what exactly happened here. He called it, he is mad about hearing that there were at least 10 people shot, and he called it unfortunate because this is yet another crime here in the city of Mobile. A mass shooting now coming to us here in Mobile, Alabama, with at least 10 people shot during a high school football game just about an hour or so ago. Lenice?
Yeah, Tyler, the chief not able to give concrete information, but he was very vocal in talking about his frustration, saying that the community needs to play a large role, a collective role, when it comes to keeping events like this from happening. Go back and kind of recap what he said about making sure that violence isn't the way to solve conflict.
Yeah, I mean, we cover these stories all the time with different shootings that happen in our community. I know I was with Chief Batiste talking to him just earlier this month when there was a shooting at the R.V. Taylor community where there was a standoff with Mobile police officers. And he always says the same thing when I'm talking with him, that he wants people to just he doesn't want people to turn to the bullet and use a gun to solve a problem. And as a police chief, that is obviously something that he would want to happen, because the more shootings and the more crimes that happen in this community, the Mobile Police Department is having to respond to. And in a situation tonight with high school football games happening all around Mobile County and the Mobile area, their resources are stretched thin. They do have officers who are required to be here. It's part of a security measures with the Mobile public school system. So they did have officers here, and they were able to quickly take this situation under control. He did say none of his officers had to open fire, and 2 suspects are now in custody, and police are going to do the long interrogation to be able to figure out what sparked this shooting, because this is a situation where there could be a variety of factors that resulted, and he even said it as he was leaving before.
All right, looks like we're having a little audio difficulty with our Tyler Fingert. We do have 2 crews on the scene. You're looking at Tyler on the left side, and then Morella Porter is bringing us the shot on the right side. In talking to Tyler and listening to the police chief, getting back to what started all of this, there were reports that it could have been from some sort of fight in the stands. The police chief not confirming that, but he did tell us that the shots were fired on the LeFlore side of the stadium. We have reports of at least 25 to 30 shots being fired. He did say that they have 2 people in custody. When asked about their ages, he did not confirm whether they were juveniles as well, but he did allude to as much by saying that this sort of beef that is being worked out in the community needs to come to an end, saying that he is frustrated that there has to be another way to resolve conflict, and alluding to trying to get tougher punishment for those accused of such crimes. Right now, police are still processing the scene. As you're looking live here, you can see they're discussing, they're also interviewing witnesses. There are multiple cameras around this area. They'll be reviewing that surveillance as well, talking to people. The chief also said that they are trying to identify the witnesses, and they had to be taken to a number of hospitals. We're talking at least 10 people shot, ranging in ages 15 to 18, out at a football game on a Friday summer night. Labor Day holiday weekend, enjoying the game when shots ringing out. One woman had a seizure. The chief said, I want to go back to our Tyler Fingert. I understand we've got that audio issue fixed. Tyler, I know police are still on the scene. You said the ambulances have now since left. Are there still people milling about?
No, at this point, when we initially moved over to this location just about 30 or so minutes ago, at this point, there were a lot more cars here in the parking lot. At this point, it really has just cleared out. I'll step out of the way. We'll show you. Now pretty much in this parking lot are the news media cars and also several police cars, including detectives and crime scene units. Most of what is remaining here are law enforcement or an ambulance, or actually there's no ambulance, that is a fire truck out here still. So this is, at this point now, they are probably cordoning off the area, making sure that they have this area sealed off and it is a sterile area so that they can begin their investigation. With 10 plus people, or at least 10 people shot, there is probably a wide area that they're having to look at, do crime scene markers, and do different amount of work to be able to achieve what they need to be able to have to prosecute this crime of a shooting here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium following following the game, or at the very end of the game. The chief arriving on scene and immediately talking with us, providing that information. And this number, as I said, when we arrived on scene, first live report, I said it was at least 6. That was the number we were hearing. It was 3 when I was driving to the scene, and then now at least 10. So this is a very fluid situation. There could be more people. The fact that ambulances have left, this may indicate that the number of victims we have the final number of victims, but there could be somebody who self-transported themselves to the hospital to get there as quickly as possible. But now Mobile Police in that tough situation of having to investigate this crime. And I have reached out to Mobile Fire asking if they could provide information on where the victims were shot, what kind of injuries they sustained out here during that shooting. We are still awaiting that information at this point from Mobile Fire, because that was the majority of the ambulances that were out here. There are also other private brands as well. So this was a massive response. Probably easily 15 ambulances were called to the scene from what I saw to be able to help transport those who were injured to the hospital. So since we've gotten over here and about an hour or so ago, it really has quieted down. Now police are beginning that investigation, trying to piece this together. And as you heard from Chief Lawrence Batiste just about 10 minutes ago or so, he did say that they are going to be out here a while investigating. And the case with this many victims, they will have a lot to go through, a lot of pictures to take, and a lot of crime scene markers to go through to make sure that they can figure this out. He didn't specify how many gunshots were fired, but we were hearing there could have been somewhere between 20, 25, 30. So a lot of bullet casings they do have to deal with. Again, 2 suspects in custody, and tonight police are beginning the initial stages of this investigation into a mass shooting here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium following the Williamson-McLeore game here in Mobile. Lenise.
All right, Tyler, as I mentioned, we have team coverage on this. Want to let you break away now and perhaps get some more information. Meanwhile, we're going to check in with Morella. Morella, I understand you've been able to gather some more information.
Right, yes, Lenny. Since I last talked to you, I saw 2 people wheeled away on stretchers into ambulances, which have since left. And in front of me, I think we had a shot up. I'm not sure if anyone could see it, but there was a person sitting inside of a police car, and there was a woman next to me, and she was telling me not to get video of this young man because she said he was 16, and apparently it was her son. That's what she was saying, because she was obviously pretty as a parent. Just worried for her son, saying this is her words that I was hearing her say, that she didn't want him to go down for anything he didn't do. So assuming that possibly police are looking at that person as a potential someone who could have been involved with the shooting in some form, who knows. But yes, so she was kind of just standing around here with a little group of people, just kind of watching the young man in the police car until it drove away, and she followed after. So that is what we were seeing, and that was also the person who in my assumption was the person that they were carrying out of the stadium, same colored shirt that I had seen from earlier before. Obviously I wasn't able to talk to the woman. She didn't seem like she wanted to talk, because if she is the mother of someone who could have been involved, I'm sure that she is just so worried for him. So right now it looks like there are still a bunch of police around, not as much of a presence as we were seeing earlier. A lot of ambulance crews have left since then. Like I said, I saw at least 2 people while I was over here, when we moved over here, 2 people on stretchers taken away. That person who was in the police car, not sure why he was being taken away, because we have not confirmed anything with police. I was just going based off of what the woman next to me was saying, which again, she was saying that that was her boy. He was only 16, and she didn't want him to be in trouble for something he didn't do, she said. So assuming that he might have been involved in some way. Still some police around here, maybe over a dozen. Still a bunch of police cars though, to my right and behind me here. So that's what it's looking like right now, and it doesn't seem like anyone is really lingering like they were before in terms of any bystanders or anyone who is not police or fire or ambulance crews or anything like that. So it's quieted down a bit since earlier, and again, that person was taken away in the police car with that woman following him, Lenise.
So if they were taken away in the police car, Morella, and I don't know if you were able to see this at all, but did they appear to have any injuries?
I did not, obviously I'm only looking at chest up, because that's all I could see from where I was standing. I did not see any injuries on them from that angle, but like I said, I'm thinking that that could have possibly been the same person that I saw them carrying down from the stairs right to my left, behind me, when I was kind of pointing over there saying that, the group of officers was carrying someone down, just because the shirt was so bright. It was a bright orange shirt. So I'm assuming that could have been the same person. So, I mean, if they were carrying him, I guess you could assume that he could have possibly been injured. So I'm not sure what that was all about. But other than that, from the chest up, he looked fine to me personally.
And were you able to talk to anyone else to get an idea of maybe when the shots were fired? That's something we're still working to confirm with police. There were reports about there possibly being a fight, and that may have led to the shots being fired.
Right, Lenise. No, I haven't been able to talk to anyone out here. The officers that I have, Tyler talked to the chief. I'm sure that's who they're giving all the power to kind of give us concrete information that they have at this point. But in terms of the people who were kind of standing around, the people that we did try to talk to, they just weren't very responsive about the questions that we were asking. And then of course that woman was pretty upset about her son being taken away, and she was actually telling me not to get him on camera because he was 16 years old. So she also was not very responsive to us being here tonight covering this.
All right, thanks, Morella Porter, giving us part of our team coverage here. We also have Tyler Fingard, who spoke to the police chief earlier as he gave an update on the situation. If we still have Tyler, I want to bring him back in now because what most people want to know as they're watching and they're seeing that at least 10 people were shot as they were at a football game, they want to know, is there still cause for concern? And that's something that you asked the chief about, Tyler. You asked him whether people need to still be alert if there's an active shooter out there, and go ahead and restate what he said to that.
People need to always be vigilant in situations like this. They obviously do believe that they do have the suspected shooters shooters in custody. They have somebody that they felt was a threat, which is why they took them into custody. But obviously, in situations like this, if you do see something, call police. That is always the message. If they see someone with a gun or something like that, they do believe that they do have the suspects in custody based off of what I am hearing from people I've been talking with in the Mobile Police Department besides Chief Batiste. Lenise.
All right, so that would be encouraging news for people living in that area or, just commuting. It is a Friday night. A lot of people driving around, attending that football game. They said the victims ranged in age of 15 to 18. And Tyler, on social media, people just talking about, how shocked they are and how this would be their worst fear to have something like this happen.
There are no words sometimes in situations like this. We come on scene, we see all the police officers. I was saying this to my photographer just a couple of minutes ago while Morella was talking. Having to ask that question to the chief about this at least 10 people shot, a mass shooting. It gave me chills because this has now come to our community here. That many people shot. This was a school event, a high school football game. People here cheering on their team under the Friday night lights. The lights still on here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium tonight, and those lights now helping Mobile Police conduct their investigation here at the stadium. And it's just 15 to 18 years old. That is all probably students from either Williamson High School or LeFlore. It's just gun violence here now affecting the youth, the kids who were just out here enjoying a football game, watching their team hopefully either win or lose, and cheer on their teammate, cheer on the teammates, cheer on their players. And it ended in gunfire because of something going on here. Police not sure what caused this at this point. That is going to be a huge thing because the chief was saying as he was leaving us that this could have been something where the suspect or suspects wanted to go after one or two people. In this case, at least 10 people shot, a person had a seizure, and another person was injured by trying to run away from this shooting. And so now this situation is where we are, where there are police officers here, crime scene detectives on scene now trying to piece this together. And Lanice, it's just a tragic situation here under the Friday night lights of what was supposed to be a fun night here. I have reached out to the Mobile County Public Schools for a statement since this is their event. I have not heard back at this point, but a very obviously traumatic situation for many people who were here just having a good time when gunfire just suddenly erupted. We have not been able to speak to anyone who actually heard the gunfire or the shooting, but we are, at this point, most of the people who would have witnessed this have left, Lanice.
And while most of the people who would have been there have left, we are still staying on the scene because police are still there, and we want to stay with this story until police have finished their investigation, at least online for certain. So just to kind of give you an idea of what's going on here, we have team coverage for you at Ladd-Peebles Stadium following a shooting involving at least 10 victims, and they range in ages of 15 to 18. Police telling our reporters earlier that at least 2 people are in custody. In case you missed that interview with Mobile Police Chief Lawrence Batiste, I want to play it for you now so you can have an idea of what we know at this time. Let's listen.
What I can tell you at this moment is right now it's come to our attention that we have at least 10 gunshot wound victims that have been taken to various hospitals here in the city as a result of an incident that occurred here at Ladd Stadium, a shooting. We've had one individual, because of the shooting, had a seizure, and another one injured his hand trying to get out of the way of what was going on. Currently, we have 2 individuals in custody or detained. Now, we don't know if they're the shooters in this particular situation, so we're questioning them right now. We're questioning witnesses here on the scene. We're processing the scene so that we can try to get a better idea of what actually transpired and unfolded here. We'll be here for quite some time. You guys know that whenever we work on a crime scene, we spend a little time making sure we gather all evidence. We're looking at all surveillance video that may be available to us to help us identify individuals that may be responsible for this particular incident. It is my belief that based off the surveillance system that's here and the cooperation that we'll get from the people here on site and people that attended the ball game, that we will make an arrest in this case and we'll be able to hold somebody accountable for this action. But again, it goes back to the idea that why are young people bringing this type of violence to public events? They're bringing their beefs that they have with each other in neighborhoods, and they're putting other people in harm's way. And we're going to have to be more aggressive on our end as a city as how we hold these individuals accountable when they go before the courts. We have got to make sure they understand that we will not tolerate juvenile violence in our community. It's not acceptable. Our community will not tolerate it. We will do the things that we need to do to hold them accountable. And so we are working on different things that we can do to get those that have aged out of the juvenile justice system, that are adults, into the federal system, and we want to make sure that they're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This is unacceptable for people not to be able to come out and enjoy an event, watching their children play a football game and watching their children perform in the band. 10 individuals injured from the age of 15, ranging from age 15 to 18. It's not acceptable in our community. We won't tolerate it. We'll be more aggressive in what we do as a law enforcement community to hold those individuals accountable. We're going to ask that the community help us by identifying those individuals that they know that bring this type of foolishness out to these type of events. As we get more information and we can update you on the status of some of our victims, we will. I would encourage the parents that if their children are not at home, call some of our local hospitals to see if their children may be there, or try to reach out to them on cell phones to make sure they're okay. There are some that are still here providing witness statements to our investigators, and so reach out to us if they have not made it home as of yet, if they were here at Ladd Stadium, and we'll do what we can to try to let you know if there's somebody that we're still talking to on the scene. But we'll be out here for a little while trying to process this scene and make sense of it.
Were the shots fired during the game or after the game?
Again, I think it's at the very end of the ball game. I don't know the exact details. I got on scene, started getting information about what took place, and really just trying to identify who our victims were and who our suspects. I really can't tell you at what point of the ball game these shots were actually fired.
Can you confirm, was there a fight prior to the game ending?
I don't know the answer to that. Actually, I was not on scene, so I can't answer that. So.
Do you believe that there is more than one shooter, or do you think it's just one shooter at this point?
Again, we got to ask questions. What we think right now and what we know are two different things. And so before I start talking about what we think, I'd like to try to make a better determination of what we can actually tell you and it be factual and correct. So.
Chief, really quick, what are the security measures as to going into the ball games here?
Well, as is in most ballparks, they have to have a clear bag. They shouldn't be able to bring a bag into the ball game. There is not. There is a warn where they would warn individuals as they would come in to make sure they didn't have a weapon or something on them. But those are the basic security measures for high school ball games. And some of our college ball games, it's a little bit more strict going into some of the college ball games. So one of the things that we'll be doing as we move away from this evening is sitting down at the table, trying to make a better determination of what do we need to do to deal with security measures at ball games. And we have to keep in mind that Ladd Stadium is just one venue in the city of Mobile where football games occur on Friday night. BC Rain, Ladd Stadium, the Lip, Baker High School, Blunt High School. There are multiple locations where high school games are going on at this time of day, and so it is an enormous drain on police resources, not just for the city of Mobile, but for Mobile County, for the other municipalities around us, because you have to provide security personnel for those venues, and so and when you have hundreds and hundreds of people attending events, you really want to make sure that you do everything you can to at least have some type of security plan in place.
Were they injured in the bleachers or in the breezeway?
Again, those are details that I don't have before me at this point in time, and it appeared that they were all over the stadium, at least on the LeFlore side of the stadium, is where most of the injuries occurred. So I do know that much. That's on the LeFlore side of the field.
Chief Batiste, it is, we hear about mass shootings all the time. This is a mass shooting here, 10 plus in our community.
All right, and you were just listening to a recorded interview with Mobile Police Chief Lawrence Batiste as our Tyler Fingard was on the scene getting information about that shooting. We are constantly trying to get you new information, and right now we are joined by LeVon Manzi, Councilman. This is your district. We appreciate you spending time with us tonight. First off, what do you know about what happened?
Well, we've been apprised generally of the information that's been shared with the general public at this point. Certainly my thoughts and prayers go out to all of the individuals who've been impacted by this unnecessary act of violence at Ladd-Peebles Stadium tonight, and also to the hardworking first responders who are there collecting evidence and making certain that whoever is responsible is brought to justice.
Speaking of that, the chief of police talking about his frustration with violence being resolved in the community. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I join him in being frustrated. As someone who fought vigorously last year to keep Ladd open, to keep it vital, to keep it as a recreational amenity for our young people to be able to utilize. It's not appreciated. It's not appreciated by the citizens that I represent in the Maysville community, whose whole evening has been probably dominated by this senseless act of violence. There are other ways to resolve your issues, and coming to a very public venue where parents and grandparents have come out to see their scholars play football tonight, I think it's just totally ridiculous. And it's frustrating. There are people who will say, well, government needs to do more. And I join the chief in saying that somebody in some house should have known what the young people were leaving with tonight relative to guns and things that would cause these senseless acts of violence. And we've got to become more vigilant as a community. I know when I was leaving home 10 and 20 years ago as a youngster. My parents made certain that I didn't have anything. I couldn't even bring that in the house. And so we've got to have that kind of hard conversation in our communities to prevent activities of this nature from happening again.
What do you think the solution is to that, other than the conversations at home of, making sure you know where your kids are and what they have on them? The chief mentioned tougher punishment. Is that the answer?
Well, tougher punishment is going to have to be a part of the equation. Tougher surveillance in our homes is going to have to be, I believe, the initial start. We can have ever so many community activities planned in nearby home and rec center, all kind of activities for young people that many don't even avail themselves of. And so these young people are going to have the intention in their minds that they want to walk down the right road. And if they want to do that, then there are amenities in place to help them do that. But if they don't, then the justice system needs to be swift in dealing with them so that we can deter as much of this from happening as possible. This is absolutely and utterly ridiculous, and it's unnecessary.
When you hear that there has been a mass shooting in Mobile at a football game at Ladd-Peebles Stadium, the victims as young as 15, what goes through your mind?
Well, what goes through my mind is the availability of guns, the easiness in which these young people are obtaining them. All of those things are serious things that we need to address as a community. This is unfortunate. This did not have to happen. There'll be lives impacted from here on out because of someone's intention to do this tonight. And if I had the magic answer, I could take it and patent it and use it all across this country as we see these kinds of incidents are happening almost weekly. It's ridiculous. And again, my concern tonight is that everyone hopefully will be able to survive, and that our police department under Chief Batiste and our public safety director will be able to bring those who are responsible to the forefront so that the justice system can deal with them swiftly. A parent should not have to be wondering and calling to see if their young people are going to make it home safely, just after sending them to a simple Friday night football game. It's ridiculous.
I can hear the frustration in your voice. Our Morella Porter on the scene mentioned seeing what looked to be a teenager in a police car. Have you heard anything about who may have been detained in relation to what happened at Ladd tonight?
Well, I would hate to release anything prior to or ahead of our public safety director and our police chief. I know they're working hard to identify who's responsible and whether they were 16 or 26 or 36. I think they made a grown-up decision tonight, and they're going to have to deal with some grown-up consequences as a result of it. And that's the way it should be, because these families should not have been impacted by simply coming out to watch this football game. This should not have happened. This is, I can't think of another adjective better than just ridiculous, because that's exactly what it is. It's senseless, absolutely senseless.
Did you know anyone at the game tonight?
I know several people who were attending the game tonight on both sides. Very familiar with LeFlore, very familiar with Williamson. And after working, and we will continue to work to make certain that the city has this kind of amenity. But all this does is play into that negative stereotype that those who want to see it closed often use. And I think the community needs to be aware of that. We can fight ever so hard at government plazas to make certain that these kinds of amenities stay open and stay revitalized But we're going to have partners in the community to make sure that this kind of senselessness doesn't take place.
That's one of the things that the mayor, Sandy Stimson, campaigned on, having Mobile being the safest city in America. With something like this happening, what's the path forward now?
Well, I think that'd be a question for the mayor. That was his campaign mantra. And if he had the ability, I'm sure, to foresee somebody bringing a gun and doing this, then he would dispatch the police department to get them before they did it. If we had that ability, we could be billionaires across the globe. We don't, because we have to react to actions of this nature. And so I believe it's a goal that's obtainable, but it's not going to be obtainable if everybody isn't behind it and if everybody doesn't do their part. And it starts at home, it starts on the block, it starts in our churches, it starts in our communities, it starts with our police being active and engaged in neighborhoods and working hand in hand. I believe we could achieve the goal, but this certainly indicates that we have a good ways to go.
And we did reach out to Mobile Mayor Sandy Stimson for comment, ask him to join us tonight. We're still waiting on that call back. So Mayor, if you are listening or watching, we'd welcome you to talk as well. Councilman LeFlore Manzi, I certainly appreciate you calling in tonight and sharing your frustrations. As we look forward to how we can keep things like this from happening, what would your advice be to the people detained in this crime?
Well, my advice would be, is this to individuals who are actually involved?
Correct.
My advice would be, after you have resolved your legal issues, and if you have an opportunity to become a part of society again, you need to get Christ in your life. That's my advice. You need to run to somebody's church and sit on the front row and get Christ in your life, because if you have him in your life, you won't be making decisions of this nature. You need to get him as deep as you can get him in your heart, because if you have him in your heart, you won't do the things that you've done to other people tonight. That would be my best advice. Some may not appreciate it. I'm not caring at this point, because this is exactly how I feel about it. And so that would be my advice. Get him as deep in your heart as you can, and you won't walk down this ungodly path again.
This is your district. What do you say to your constituents?
Well, I say to them that we need to remain vigilant, that we have a very capable police force that can and will protect our citizens, but we've got to be active and engaged as a part of that protection. All of it is not on our police. All of it is not on our politicians. You need to know what's in your house. You need to know what your children have on their person. And you need to have discussions with them about the ramifications of getting outside the normal ways of behavior. This is unfortunate. And again, my thoughts and my prayers, which is all I can offer at this point, go out to every family impacted. The community is impacted. This did not have to happen, and I'm hopeful that we won't have this kind of occurrence again.
All right, I certainly appreciate you joining us tonight. Wish it could have been under different circumstances. Councilman LeFlore Manzi, thank you.
Absolutely no problem.
Want to go back now to Fox News reporter Tyler Fingert as we continue to piece together what happened tonight. Again, shots fired at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. Tyler, I understand that you've been talking to people, trying to piece together what happened and when.
Eastern side of it, okay. This 10 people
And it
shot.
looks like Tyler is in the middle of an interview right now. Tyler, tell us quickly who you're speaking with.
And for what? No one knows. We just have to be more aware. We have to be more conscious. We're encouraging parents and loved ones and city officials and everyone to communicate with the kids, communicate with our children, make sure that they're aware about safety measures, how to say no to violence, how easy it is to get in trouble and how hard it is to get out. Everything happened so fast, so fast. And like I said, it was after the football game. It really was.
This was under the Friday night lights. People out here having a good time, football. People out here, this is what people look forward to, especially during the fall season, especially in high school. I know I look forward to our football games. This should not be happening. Do you think this shouldn't be happening here?
This should not be happening. This should not be happening, but because of social media, because of all of the information that we have on Facebook and on television, these are the times that we're living in, and we have to be cautious about them. We have to be able to communicate with our loved ones, be able to communicate with our kids and communicate with them and let them know that you have to practice safe measures at this time. This is the time that we're living in, and we want to make sure that our kids are safe and all children are safe in the city of Mobile.
Just take me back. So you said the game had ended, you were on the sideline, you heard the shots, at least 6 you said, and you basically started trying to protect some of these people who were running and scared. And
yes, I tried to protect as many as I possibly could. I told them to get down. We was right there by the edge of right by below by the metal part. Just get down, lay down on the grass. And they wanted to run here, get this, get that. I said, forget that. Lay down, stay down. And of course on the bleachers they was telling everybody to get below in the bleachers in the stadium. But everybody was practicing safe measures because no one wants anyone to get hurt. It was just a very, very chaotic situation, and it happened so fast. And we had a lot of kids that was in shock. Some went into seizures, some continued to cry uncontrollably, but we just want to make sure that the kids are safe. We really do. And the parents, and we had a lot of elderly people that came out tonight as well. So you want to make sure that they were safe as well because they weren't able to run. I did see a young lady on Wisdom side that had her arm braced up. I didn't get a chance to talk to her or anything, but again, we just have to continue to communicate, talk to our kids, and just encourage them to say no to violence, leave these guns, put these guns down. Enough is enough. We must stop this violence. And we're just calling on peace. That's what we're calling on. And that's what I'm praying for.
You never would expect something like this happening at a high school football game. You coming out here tonight, this is a mass shooting here, right here on our doorsteps, right outside Williamson High School. Did you ever think it would happen here at a football game you were attending? No,
I did not. I came last night to McGill and Murphy game to support a high school student had invited me to come out and support them. I came out tonight the same. I don't have any students at John L. LeFlore. I don't have any students at Williamson High School. But I came out to support the kids, and that's what I wanted to be here for, like I did on last night. And it just happened so chaotic. It happened so fast, and I'm just glad that others did not get hurt, and the numbers are not as large as they are, But I am praying for those families, and I'm encouraging everyone that's listening to pray for those families and let them know that they're loved and appreciated.
Anything else you want to add? Anything you want to tell us? Anything you hope for?
I'm hoping for more peace in our community. I'm hoping for more input, involvement. I'm asking that we just continue to do better and continue to do more than what we're doing as citizens and support these kids, support them and encourage them and let them know, support positivity. That's what we're trying to do, support positivity.
You don't expect this going out to a high school football game.
No.
Does this concern you about going to the next game?
Yes, it concerns me greatly about going to the next game, but I will be if I'm invited, and I will come to another game and support our kids because this is a one-time incident, and I'm hoping that this doesn't occur again. We can look at what happened, look at film, we can do research, we can call different individuals and find out what can we do to improve so this incident don't occur again. It really don't.
It's true, Levi. You can't let something like this happen, ruin the fun sometimes, and ruin this. I really appreciate you talking with me.
Thank you so very much.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. You be blessed.
Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
So yeah, you just heard from that. We were just speaking with somebody who was here at Ladd-Peebles Stadium. He told me just at the end of the game, that's when the shots were fired. He said he heard about 6 shots, and then he started trying to pull people down and huddle them and keep them low to the ground. He was telling me before you guys joined that interview shot in progress while you were talking to Levon Manzi that there were kids that were saying, I lost my phone, I lost my shoe, they just turned off the stadium lights here, lost my shoe, I lost my phone, and he was just telling them to keep them down because it is all about getting some info. I'm going to send it back to you, Lenice, hoping to get an update in a second.
All right, that was our Tyler Fingard reporting, and he was talking to someone who was just at the game, like so many other people tonight, there to watch Williamson take on LeFlore when shots were fired. That gentleman saying that he heard nearly half a dozen shots fired, but he says it's not going to deter him from going to future football games. But still, he echoed the same comments of that of the police chief and Councilman Manzi about how this violence in the community needs to come to an end. Recapping what we know at this time, 10 people shot, ages 15 to 18. Mobile police saying that they are confident an arrest will be made, and the charges, he says, they will be charged to the fullest extent of the law as to deter anyone else from doing anything like this in the future. We've had team coverage on this story since the news broke, with our Tyler Fingard on the scene as well as our Morella Porter. Morella Porter is standing by now, and Morella, when we spoke with you earlier, you talked about how a woman was on the scene and what appeared to be a 16-year-old in a police car. What else have you been able to see and hear since we last spoke?
Right, Lenny, since we last spoke, things have cleared up a bunch. Right now, there is only, we're down to 1 police car where, when we first got to the back here, there were over a dozen with more arriving, just coming and going. And as you just mentioned, I did see a young man in a police car, someone who was probably his mother because she said so, was kind of just really shaken up and just saying how that was her boy and she didn't want him to be in trouble for something he didn't do. She said he was 16, was not very happy about the news being here, shooting the scene here. Right now, they've turned off all of the stadium lights, so the only light that we really have on is the one that we've brought with us. They've locked up all of the gates, and like I said, there's only 1 police car out here, but I no longer see any officers. So since then, that's what's been happening. And I looked over actually to the right of me where I was standing before, and it looks like there was some stuff that might not have been cleaned up by medical crews. It looked like there was a gauze patch, something that you would patch up a wound. That was kind of covered in blood, and there was also blood on the sidewalk. So it's kind of just proof of the chaos that kind of happened here tonight. And that's really the only thing that I was seeing. Again, like I said, they just turned off all of the stadium lights. Everything's locked up. So that's what's going on right now, Lenice.
All right, thanks, Morella, for that insight there. We can tell you that Mobile Police said that they have at least 2 people in custody. They told people in the area to remain cautious and to stay alert. Morella, you're saying that most of the officers have left from where you are.
Right, yes, Lenice. Like I was saying, when we first got here, when we got to the back, because at first we were at the front, maybe a few police cars and ambulance fire, but at the back it was a very hectic, busy scene with just ambulances, fire trucks, police cars coming and going. At one point, probably over a dozen, maybe about 15 of varying emergency crews, and right now there's only 1, and I have not seen any police officers walking around anymore. They have all left since we last talked when they were all here. So that it's a pretty quiet scene now. It's really just the news crews here right now.
All right, Morella, I know that we also have Tyler still out there. The stadium lights have been turned off, but police are still on the scene investigating. Do we have Tyler available to go back to?
Can you hear me, Lenice?
I can. Tyler, want to just let people
Okay.
know that earlier the chief said that he doesn't think people need to be, looking out for anyone running around per se, but to, still stay cautious.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a moment, Lenise. I just got off the phone with Mobile Fire Rescue, who told me some more information about the extent of the injuries for the people that they transported to the hospital. I'm going to read this off my phone so I make sure I get it accurate. 5 people were taken by Mobile Fire to the hospital, critical but non-life-threatening injuries. He cannot tell me exactly where they were shot because Mobile police have asked them to withhold that information at this point, but they were taken to area hospitals. From Mobile Fire took them to area hospitals. Again, Mobile Fire cannot tell us which hospitals because hospitals have asked that they withhold that information at this point as well, but we were told that they took them to multiple hospitals here within the Mobile area, 3 of the 5 local hospitals. 3 other victims were taken by private ambulance, either a Newman's or one of the one of the other brands of ambulance, and also 2 by personal vehicle. That adds up to 10. So 5 going to the hospital with Mobile Fire Rescue, 3 with a private ambulance company, and 2 via personal vehicle. We're told that the ones that went with Mobile Fire, all of them were critical but non-life-threatening injuries because they were shot, and tonight they are at area hospitals being treated. We are still awaiting some more information, obviously, on the extent of their injuries and how they're doing right now, but what witnesses were telling us, you took that shot live on you took that shot a little bit ago when we were interviewing the witness who said he heard the gunshots here. It's just it's now actually getting dark here. Police, I guess, either wrapping up their investigation out here tonight. Going to continue that. Before the lights turned off behind me, you could actually see crime scene tape inside the concourse. And based off of what the witness who was on the field told me, it would make sense of where they do have the crime scene tape up. He said it was under the stands. That is where the shooting happened, on this side of the stadium. This is the eastern side of the stadium, on the eastern side of the stadium. And the shooting would have been probably somewhere in this area from where I'm standing, somewhere just pretty much right behind me. And now police are having to piece all of this together. Again, a total of 10 people shot. 5 of them were taken by Mobile Fire Rescue, 2 local hospitals. 3 people were taken by private ambulance, and 2 others were taken by a personal vehicle to the hospital. All of them, we're told, are still there tonight being treated. The ones taken by Mobile Fire were critical but non-life-threatening injuries, Lenise.
All right, Tyler. Tyler Fingard reporting live from Mobile. Just recapping what we have for you. Ladd-Peebles Stadium, the scene of Friday Night Lights, a game between Williamson and LeFlore when shots rang out. A witness is telling us the shots fired shortly after the game. At least 10 people were hurt, as you heard our reporters saying. They are described as non-life-threatening injuries. Mobile police say 2 people are in custody and they expect an arrest to happen soon, of which the charges will be the fullest of the extent of the law. The chief of police saying he is very frustrated with the amount of violence happening in the community, saying that it needs to stop and that it happens at the home first, and with the community playing a larger role. We'll continue to follow the developments in this story on air and online. Look for updates on fox10tv.com, and be sure to tune in to our morning newscast, Fox News, starting at 6 a.m. Tori Thornton will be there for you with that coverage. For reporting now live here at Fox 10 News, I'm Lenise Lagan. We appreciate you staying with us. We'll see you next time.